What is going on, everybody? It's Kmplxity with a lasting opinion and doing a quick update video on the Micheal DV case like I said we would. Yesterday was July 24th and they actually ended up going to court, and we're going to go over exactly what it is that we can see happened due to that court proceeding. So as we knew over here on July 24th is when they were rescheduled. So it looks like they actually ended up going to court the other day, and now Micheal has a order of expungement action that's being filed, that was filed yesterday. It's expungement / application for expungement. It also has it here. It's archived court summons for the 24th. You can come over here and see on the completion date. All of these, all of this occurred here on the 24th. You see filing, which is the court summons was filed. The event was criminal traffic court. Archived documents are filed, and archived court summons are filed. So as of right now, it does look as though they are filing to have this expunged from Micheal's record. And we over here, we see that the disposition is lolcow or prosecutors, whatever, however the hell you want to say it right here. And I wasn't entirely sure what this was, so I had to go look it up myself. But here we go. Why do courts opt for lolcow prosecute in criminal defenses? Prosecute, a Latin term meaning will no longer prosecute, which is pretty much what we were all figuring was going to happen. It's a legal mechanism allowing prosecutors to discontinue criminal charges against an individual. This decision can significantly alter the trajectory of a case and carries implications for the justice system and all involved parties. Understanding why prosecutors choose this option sheds light on its role within criminal law. This legal concept highlights how prosecutorial discretion intersects with fairness, resource allocation, and evidentiary challenges. So pretty much what this is saying, without, it's going to go into detail, but pretty much what this is saying is, hey, how are you able to drop a case without, like, why are you able to drop a case? And this is saying, prosecutorial discretion, which means it's up to the DA's office to decide whether they're going to pursue it or not. It has to intersect with fairness. So if they don't have enough evidence to go forward, or which would be evidentiary challenges, resource allocation, which is, do we want to spend the amount of time and money it's going to take to try and find the evidence that we could even go to court with? And when it comes to Bridget saying, hey, nothing happened, or that she lied on the 911 call and the police report, it would be an incredibly uphill battle. So examining prosecutors provides insight into the balance between pursuing justice and recognizing when prosecution may no longer serve the public interest or meet the legal standard. Courts and prosecutors may choose to drop the charges, I'm just going to say that from now on, for various reasons, often rooted in the practicalities and complexities of the legal system. A primary reason is insufficient evidence. If evidence cannot establish guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, prosecutors may discontinue proceedings consistent with the principle that the burden of proof lies with the prosecution. And when you have somebody saying, hey, I lied about stuff, that pretty much makes it all the more difficult for anybody to move forward with these claims, because you have to take into consideration that even if they do want to move forward with it, they're going to be dealing with a combative / non-cooperative victim, quote unquote, right? Which would be Bridget. Any information that she may have on that night, she might not, she'd be unwilling to say anything. The only way that she would actually be forced to say anything is if she ended up getting subpoenaed for trial and was put on the witness stand, and then they cross-examined her and basically asked her to swear under perjury that she wasn't lying or that she was lying, which a lot of the time a DA's office isn't going to go ahead and pursue somebody that they potentially believe might be a victim, even if it comes to filing a false police report. You have to think about it in the sense of, well, if this person is a victim, it's entirely possible they're saying they're not a victim because they don't want to continue to be victimized. At which point do you go after the possible victim and lock them up for 30 days in jail just so that way they can return home and still get the shit kicked out of them or be mistreated? Again, I'm not here 100% definitely saying that's the situation, but I am offering that as an example as to why this is happening and why they may not choose to move forward with pressing charges against Bridget. The availability and reliability of witnesses are also critical. Witnesses are essential in criminal trials, and their absence or lack of credibility can weaken a case. And that's another thing that we actually have to take into consideration. Bridget is saying she lied, right? She's saying she lied on the 911 call, and Micheal's also saying he lied in the police report. And now we're hearing more things. I mean, I've already pointed out all the different lies that the hosts of the LCU have said, all the different stories that are coming out, all the new information that's coming out. First, it was nothing happened. Then it was they got drunk and started pushing each other. Then it was they got drunk, were pushing each other, and Micheal was throwing stuff. Then it, so it's just too many cooks in the kitchen. Even if Bridget wanted to go in and be a witness in this situation at a later point in time, it would not be optimal because it would be more difficult for people to believe her. Goes on to say, if a key witness, which would be Bridget, becomes unbelievable or unreliable, the prosecution might drop the case to avoid pursuing a weak or unwinnable trial. Now, even if she didn't want them, right, and I've covered this, even if she didn't want them to pursue her or to pursue Micheal, they still have the ability to. But again, no body, no crime, no witness, no crime, no victim, no crime. So it's incredibly difficult to convince 12 people that this happened when the person it supposedly happened to is saying it didn't happen. So it goes on to say resource allocation is another significant factor. Prosecutors must prioritize cases based on severity, public interest, and available resources. When a case is less pressing compared to others, or if the accused has already faced penalties for related offenses, discontinuing the case allows the justice system to focus on more urgent matters. Now, it may sound harsh, but domestic violence in the third degree is not an incredibly poignant case for prosecutors to go after. You also have to remember that DV in the third could also just simply mean the threat of domestic violence, verbal threat of domestic violence, saying I'm going to hit you, constitutes as DV in the third degree as well. So it is low on the totem pole, which in and of itself is a bad saying, because the lower you are on a totem pole, actually the more important you are. But anyways, so that's pretty much what's going on with the case right now. So this is actually the most important part of all of this, and it's what I've been saying, and I think it's what anybody with an actual brain has been saying. So effects on the accused. The decision to enter a noel prosecutal has a significant legal and personal consequences for the accused. Legally, it results in the cessation of criminal proceedings. The accused avoids trial and potential penalties, but noel prosecutal does not equate to an acquittal or a declaration of innocence. The charges are suspended, leaving the possibility of future prosecution if new evidence emerges. So this isn't being dismissed with prejudice, which means that the judge is saying, hey, I'm dismissing this case based off of some sort of legal statute, and on top of it, adding prejudice, meaning it's not going to be retried. It's basically like double jeopardy, only prior to the trial ending. So in double jeopardy, if you're found innocent, well, you never found innocent, but if you're found not guilty, then double jeopardy takes over, and they are unable to retry the case unless new evidence emerges in that case to bring forth new charges towards that person. In this case, it's the exact same thing. So it's dismissed, but it's not dismissed entirely. The charges are simply suspended. So if more information comes out, say Bridget comes back with photo evidence, or an eyewitness comes out, or video comes out, something happens to where it stokes the flames of the charges, then he can actually be recharged with domestic violence. And if the new evidence that comes out is actually more substantial than just domestic violence in the third degree, his charges can actually be higher once they go forward with it. So again, it says it's leaving the possibility of future prosecution if new evidence emerges. So the most important thing you need to understand is that simply because the charges have been dropped does not mean that he has been acquitted, and it's also not a declaration of innocence, okay? There's a big difference between being found not guilty and being acquitted of all charges. You are not found innocent in a court of law. You're either found guilty or not guilty. It doesn't say guilty or innocent. The only way you can ever be found innocent in the court of law is if you are convicted for something and then it turns around and you are acquitted of that conviction. For instance, if you go to jail for murder and it comes out 20 years later that you didn't actually do it, somebody else did, your charges are then acquitted and you are found innocent of those charges you were convicted of. For those wondering about the body cam footage, I did make an effort to go ahead and obtain it. I called the First Circuit Solicitor's Office, which then told me that I would have to put a FOIA request into the actual Dorchester County of, South Carolina. And so I did. It says here, hello, I'm inquiring about the body cam footage for case number 202526, yada, 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 for the night of April 3rd, 2025. Now, I did write a short, story, I guess, as to why I believe that it's necessary to have the body cam footage, because they're not just going to give it out if you're like, hey, give me the body cam footage. So I basically said here, I'm a YouTuber that covers stories online. I too gather as much information I can for the most well-informed documentation and storytelling that can provide to my audience. Been following the case shortly after it happened, and the defendant involved, Michael Green, aka Kid Behind the Camera, is a multi-million subbed YouTuber whose audience has been given a plethora of versions of events from that night, along with some lies and misinformation, specifically about who of the two parties involved was supposedly lying about that night's events. Through my own research, I've learned of more lies, such as his fellow host stating that he would never have gotten out on personal recognizance if it was real domestic violence. I stated, which I believe was their story, because Michael's bond requirements were that he not be around Bridget West. Yet since Michael's release, Michael has been around her multiple times, as evidenced by their vlogs or video blogs together. It's due to these inconsistencies and blatant attempts to obfuscate that night's events that had led me to inquire about all the information that I can obtain for the best understanding of that night's events. After the police report of that night was made public and the audience at large was able to see that Michael had admitted to both police officers that night that he had struck his wife Bridget twice, he began telling a news story about how he was being sarcastic to the police. He stated that he told the officers, I hit her like 50 times. If she wants me to go to jail, then take me to jail. That he never actually hit her, that he was simply being belligerent. That, along with other statements that downplayed the more egregious parts of the report and the 911 call his wife made, I believe that with the body cam footage of that night, we will truly know what is fact and what is fiction. As of right now, this is the only portion of the story that is yet to be weighed against the evidence available. I believe that people have the right to know the person they're supporting. I also believe that if Michael is telling the truth, then he deserves the right for the public to know it, which I do. I appreciate you taking the time to read and look forward to your response. Now we can come down here and it simply says the request was closed. No records were found with the Dorchester County Sheriff's Office. Please reach out to Somerville Police Department for any additional information you may require. Well, we already reached out to Somerville. That's how we got the 911 call and how we got the police report. Here you can see that it was opened up. It was submitted through the records request of Dorchester County. It went to Dorchester County Consolidated Dispatch. From there, it went to the Sheriff's Office. And from there, it went here. I don't know why it went to the Sheriff's Office, considering the fact that the whole reason for me doing this was attempting to get it to the solicitor's office. So I'm going to have to try and figure out exactly if I can get it directly to the solicitor's office, because those are the people who have the ability to request the body cam from the court and distribute it to their own discretion. When I was on the call with the circuit solicitor's office, they told me that I was going to have to be able to find the FOIA request on my own. It wasn't something that they could actually give to me. So either I had to go on Dorchester County's website or I have to go onto the circuit solicitor's office website. And I wasn't able to find it on the circuit solicitor's office. But I was able to find it on the Dorchester County office website. So I took my shot on there and it looks like I missed. I'll probably try and look and see if I can't find another FOIA request to send directly to the solicitor's office. You know, it might be hit or miss. I might have to try and find it again or find a FOIA request that directly will go to the solicitor's office. But as of right now, you guys, that's pretty much everything that we have. Like I've covered this story to ad nauseum. I could have covered so much more with them continuing to talk about it. I just didn't want to, you know, bombard you guys with 100 different fucking videos just saying small little updates here and there. But I have stuck to my true, you know, I've stuck to what I said I was going to do. I've covered it to the extent that I can. And if no video comes out about this situation after this, it's simply because I was unable in my efforts to gather the police body cam footage. And at this point in time, the easiest way is still going to be what I said previously, for Bridget or Michael to make a request to the courts for that body cam footage of that night. I know that there was some people who were commenting stating that, hey, you know, that South Carolina is one of those states that doesn't require body cam. That stop, don't believe them. 2024 South Carolina Code of Law, Title 23, Law Enforcement and Public Safety, Chapter 1, General Provisions, Section 23.1.240, Body-worn cameras, definition, guidelines, policies, and procedures, fund data release. If this sounds familiar, it's the same law that I was reading to you guys about how we would obtain the body cam footage. But the most important part of going over it, this video is going to be for Section B. State and local law enforcement agencies under the direction of Law Enforcement Training Council shall implement the use of body-worn cameras pursuant to guidelines established by the Law Enforcement Training Council. So that means that their officers, as far as I understand, have to wear body cam footage. Within 180 days after the effective date of this section, which was in 2024, the Law Enforcement Training Council shall conduct a thorough study of the use, implementation, procedures, costs, and other related aspects associated with body-worn cameras in jurisdictions with body-worn cameras currently in use or which begin their use during this period. The Law Enforcement Training Council shall develop guidance for the use of body-worn cameras by state and local law enforcement agencies within 180 days of the effective date of this act. Now, again, this was done in 2024 of last year, and the whole Michael Bridget situation happened this year. So once this was enabled, they had 180 days to get all the kinks out and everything like that. And that means that dollars to donuts, there was body cam footage on every single officer that was there that night. But that's going to be it for me, you guys. Whether this is good news to you or bad news to you, I cover it. I don't hold anything back. I don't hide anything. Like I said, I was going to be fair on all directions. You may not like to hear this. You may love to hear this, whether you're pro or, against Michael. I don't know. But at the end of the day, facts are facts, and this is the facts. So I have been Kmplxity with a lasting opinion. You guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you in the next one.
From zero to hero, we rise up tall. Zero, we cover them all.